All right, everybody. What a weekend. What a day. And it is my wonderful honor to bring you this meditation, this centering before the final channel of this weekend. So let's just breathe into that slowly and softly, closing your eyes, relaxing your body, knowing that you have this time. You have this precious time each moment. Each moment that a breath comes in and goes out is a gift. Each moment, each time that your heart beats, it's a gift of your human life. And when the breath and the heart come together and we focus on the light that's in there and the love that's being nurtured this weekend, we know that we can take that with us. We can use all of this weekend, the presentations, the channels, the meditations. We can continue to use them in the stream of our everyday life. And it is with gratitude that we continue to open even more than we ever thought we would. This is the time. Take another breath. You don't have to think about what opening is. You can just say yes to the benevolent messages from Adirondha and Kryon.
So very good to see your light, your brightness, your divine presence. We have all of your angelic beings, all of your energy is right here in this space with us. We hold you in such love and such light. We know that there has been some wondrous information, wondrous connection, wondrous clarity, and maybe some things that maybe pushed your buttons along the way, huh? When you got your buttons pushed, breathe through them. Breathe through that wisdom. For as you see who you are, as you see into your soul, know that that soul is one of an enlightened being. That soul is one of divine clarity. And as you are on your path in this weekend, here in Seattle, as you are understanding that you are seeing with new eyes this 2020 vision of this year, you are seeing the frequency that is being raised. You are seeing the connection and the connective force within you. And in addition to seeing it, you are feeling it in your heart. We can feel in your heart now that there's sort of energy sort of bubbling up to the surface. As that energy bubbles up to that surface, you are experiencing that expansion of your own soul. We know that this energy has come and filled you up with all sorts of information, all sorts of connection. You are the teacher, you know. Breathe that in. You are teaching those that are all around you. Just as our dear Dr. John Ryan said yes to the beings of light that communicate through him. Just as that happens, you can as well. He is a teacher. He's creating a new element of connection. you are also creating that new element of connection. That is why we ask you to raise your vibration to the highest level possible. Raise your frequency to the highest level possible and reside at that level, because that is the slipstream that makes it easier for all others to find their lift and find their path. You are the way showers, the pathfinders, the beings of light that are in front of the crowd, the first wavers, if you would, the first line of the new frontier. That is who you have chosen to be again. So, dearest beings of light, hold in your heart that which you choose to experience. And try not to let your mind argue with your heart, because sometimes there's a big gap in between this part and this part. And we know with that gap comes a great distance of communication, comes a great distance of talking yourself into or out of something. And we ask you to just be with it, to lean into your next step. There is no magic pill. There is no magic energy. There's only you and your innate and your field, which is the universe, which is the source of all that is. So if you're looking for something still that is outside of yourself, we implore you to turn inside. That is where those answers are. That is where that frequency is, that is bringing you to the new human, bringing you to the next generation, bringing you to the age of intuition, bringing you to the age of connection that people are now experiencing more than ever before in the history of this planet. The vessel Marilyn, sometimes when she shows her pictures online, she has a globe that goes round and round, and she has lines like connecting the dots around the planet. And she has always said, that is what you are doing. Well, now it is happening more so than ever before. You see this energy that we have right now because of you being in your living room, because of you being connection in this, because of the lack of smog and the lack of energy in the atmosphere. A part of this planet's atmosphere has actually been healed. Are you aware of that? Our dear friend, the Master Randy Luna, stated so. That a part of the ozone layer or something up there in the Arctic has closed back up now. And it took this element of the whole planet to take a pause to accomplish that. What miraculous things can happen when you just take a pause in your world? Can you heal your atmosphere, your personal ozone layer? Huh? Yes. Can you heal your personal body? Everything is possible. That is what these times are for. As Kryon has said, as Pragit has said, as all major teachers throughout the planet have said, this is a reset, a restart, an upgrade, and a restart. You are each a part of that energy. You have chosen this. So it is your choice as to whether to push against it or flow with it. So which are you doing? Pushing or flowing? Ah, dearest beings of light, we ask you, we implore you to remind yourself of the flow of humanity. The planet is healing itself. Humanity may be also healing themselves. For the first time in we don't know how many years, fighting has stopped in the Middle East. Maybe because they're afraid of getting something. Whatever the reason, it is ultimately good. So we ask you to look around in your world and look at all of the things that you have to be grateful for. Look around in your world and look at all of the aspects that gratitude will magnify. As the Joy says, it is abracadabra. It is the magic word. So if you want a magic pill, gratitude, that is it. What color is it? It is whatever color you wish to make it. You see, when you have that, when you approach everything with that gratitude and compassion for all aspects of what may be happening, even though it may be a struggle for you right now, even though it may seem like life is unfair to you right now, just in that statement, you're still looking to the outside for life to become fair. And the only way it can become fair, once again, if there's such a thing, is by turning to the inside. We know, we have said this before, your heart is the most creative life force on this planet. The most. So when you get your buttons pushed, your soul is asking for that so you can evolve. When you feel or see someone that you feel compassion for, that is evolution. When you look at the videos of all the nurses and doctors that are celebrating because things are getting better, and you feel that joy and feel that twinge of emotion, you know your heart is opening. And that is all it takes, is for that crack open. And with that crack open, shift happens. And one crack, one tiny chisel, one tiny opening can indeed start the snowball effect to opening for the rest of this planet. So, dearest beings of light, we are grateful to you for that opening. We are grateful to you for volunteering to say, I will take 100% responsibility for my response to everything that happens in my world. I will volunteer to be on this planet right here, right now, as this dimensional shift of reality comes in. I am here, a being of light, a being of love, for I am magnificent in all dimensions, in all times. Be who you are, dearest. We ask you to be the love that you are and allow those other parts that don't seem quite so love-filled to integrate so deeply into your cells that they are no longer in charge, that they are only a part of what makes up the final connection of you here on this planet right now in preparation for your evolution as the planet evolves as well. Dearest beings of light, we are grateful for you. We see you. We see into your heart, your pain, your fear, your love, your anxiety, your anger. We love you just the same. Please love yourself as we do. We honor you. And we bid you namaste. Namaste.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. It's a real time of repose for so many of you, of thinking. You're posed in a place almost like a statue, being very tired of being a statue. And what I mean by that is that we know what's going through the minds of so many now who are listening. We know where the world is at the moment. This is the 10th of May, 2020. And I give this date for those who will listen to this in the future, not perhaps understanding why the subject is the subject. The world is tired of staying inside. And so there will be a breakout soon, whether it is authorized or not, of those who will come and try to then instill themselves in a life which is back to that which they came from. Perhaps there will be parties that say it's over even when it isn't over, in order to convince themselves that normalcy has returned. That's where you are, and we know this. And the sad part of this, if there is any sad part, is that the ones who should be celebrating with you and pushing this to a fulcrum and getting ready with balloons and all that are continuing to give you fear. They'll do it right to the last moment, and when it's safe, they'll tell you it's not safe. Because that's what they do. Dear ones, this has nothing to do with your government. This has everything to do with bad habits of your media. And that's what it is. It's simply habits of marketing. And I want to tell you some more about the things that are going on. Those of you who can see in the cracks and know, even watching the news, will be aware of the game they play with you. And it is a game. And the game is keep you watching at any cost. I'm going to give you a story. Kind of a cute and funny story. Maybe an allegory, maybe a metaphor. Not a parable, just a story. Imagine for a moment, in another time, perhaps another world, that there was a problem with dogs. And they said, this is a problem, you're going to have to tie up your dog. So tie it up now. Don't even let it wander around the house, because the very walking of the dog creates a problem. Tie the dog up so it can't go anywhere. You can feed it, you can pet it, but tie it up. And so all around the world, the dogs are tied up. Carefully, one by one, then thousands, then millions. And the dogs everywhere on the planet are tied firmly, as requested. And then on the news comes a proclamation, an astonishing thing, a special. And they start it by saying, newsflash, newsflash, we don't see any dogs. They're nowhere to be found. We cannot see one in the street. They used to be in the parks. They used to be walking. There are no dogs. And some in some homes go, wait a minute. We figured this out. Wait a minute. You told us to tie up our dogs. That's why there are no dogs. How can you report in such a dramatic fashion that there are no dogs? And you might say, what kind of a parable is this for Kryon to give? Or an allegory, or a metaphor? Well, let me give you something real, something that happened yesterday. There's a news report, dear ones. It's a news report, a flash, a scary number has appeared. Your unemployment rate in this country is higher than the Great Depression. In huge numbers on the screen, over 14% or more. It's the highest it ever was in this nation. Read between the lines. Therefore, you're doomed. And then there's somebody says, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You told us to stay home. That's why nobody's working. You told us to stay home. Now you're giving us a report to frighten us, to scare us that nobody's working? Wait a minute. That's exactly what happened yesterday. It didn't say temporary unemployment, did it? It didn't say employment before recovery, did it? It did not. Therefore, even as you come out of this, they're trying to frighten you. And there is no dark energy here to frighten you. It's simply habit. This is what they do. It's a channel telling you to ignore these things because this is what they do. It's a channel that says things are not always as they seem. Oh, but it's more than that. I will give you something else that's only half being said. You need to hear it. If this were a world war, you would be looking at complete and total destruction of the infrastructure. There would be nothing left. All of the factories would be bombed. There'd be no factories to work at. The infrastructure of the hiring to the factories would also have gone away. All of the things that would be in place to create a product, all those who sell, all those who design, all those who do the marketing and the billboards and all those things, they'd all be gone. The companies would cease to exist. If you had a war, you'd be looking at a world that had died temporarily and the economies were gone completely, and you'd be starting anew. Dear ones, that is the news you're getting, especially in the economy, especially with jobs, especially, as though you'd had a war, as though the factories were gone. The truth is a hybrid of that. They're still there. There are those who are salesmen who are also, like you, or perhaps you're one of them in your homes. The products that are needed in this planet, you're in your homes. And when there is a release, that particular engine of the economy will start again, perhaps in a lower way, in order to get up to speed after a surplus has been made by the ones and the products that are still there. But the factories are there. They're not bombed. The infrastructure is still there. It has not died. And yet, the news that you are being given and the projections that you've been giving is as though there had been a war. I want you to think about these things and the logics of these things. The economy will not come bouncing and racing back as though nothing had ever happened. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying it will come back and the jobs are there. And it may come back a little differently. It may come back a little more lean for a while until it then develops into something perhaps it should have been. But it will come back. The factories do not have to be rebuilt. Again, I will say this. There is no economic model for a virus or a pandemic. Don't let them tell you they know what's going to happen. They don't. The great push, the accelerator on all of this is the desire of all of you to go back to what you did. In buildings that have been waiting for you, in places that will welcome you back when the time is correct. All of you want to return and resume. Don't watch the media because they don't care about giving you hope. They just want to sell products. And this, dear ones, is something you would say, well, it shouldn't be in an esoteric channel. It shouldn't be about metaphysical things. I will tell you it's about real life today and fear and anxiety that you do not need to have or participate in. You don't need this now. You need hope, you need truth, and you need to see the way things really truly are. Be some of the ones who say, wait a minute, wait a minute. You told us to tie up the dogs. You can't give us a report that you don't see any dogs in the street anymore. The planet is starting to come out. It's going to burst at the seams of joy. There may even be parties before it's time, simply because people are tired of staying inside, not meeting each other, not having the ability to do as they always have done, to socialize in wonderful places with good food, and to meet each other on the street. Even the countries that do not have some of these privileges want to come out, at least to walk around in the parks and the beaches. And so that is and will be very soon. You stand on the cusp of the beginning of coming back from the reboot, and things will be different than you're told. I'm crying in love with humanity. I'll be back. And so it is.